Micronesian island. So the things I'm going to talk about is the things that we've changed, the culture that we've changed, and I've done it, and that's the good news. So I worked for two organizations, and I was an assistant chief of police with the Carrollton Police Department, and my task, my assignment was to change the culture because it was a very stagnant organization, and I needed to change the culture. I moved to the city of Coppell, and the same things applied. But we applied two principles of policing: problem-oriented policing and servant leadership. This is what I really focused on and what I want to tell you in the time that I was there as a police chief and as assistant chief and throughout the ranks of my organizations. Major organizational change takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. That's the bad news. But the good news is that it does happen. And it takes a strong leadership mindset, and leadership is hard work. It's not once a week. It's not once a month. It's not at a staff meeting with your leaders. It's every day. I can't sit in my office and send out emails and expect things to change. It's not going to happen. So it is hard work. You have to, what we say, get off your butt and work. And I expect people to work. I talk about this, and when I teach in the United States, I ask this question to police officers all over. And I say, think about the times you've been unhappiest at your jobs, at your careers. And think about it here, and don't answer, obviously, but what were the three top reasons? And I can be in Texas. I did a class in Indiana. I'm going to do a class in the University of Notre Dame. And the problems are the same. Micromanagement, no input. Not being respected, having no say in things that deal with my job. All of the same types of concerns and complaints. This is a definition of ineffective leadership that I found, and it's an absolutely powerful definition because we can all relate to it. We've all lived it. We've all been there. If we've worked anywhere, we've lived this. It says it's the immense cost of micromanagement, dictatorial practices, ineffective delegation, and day-to-day interactions that disempower and hurt people. Everyday interactions that disempower, not empower, but disempower and hurt people. This is the single greatest contributor to toxic working cultures. I've worked with this person. I've worked with this boss. And it hurts. And it destroys you, and it causes health issues, and it causes being unhappy and bitter. And guess what? If you're unhappy and bitter at work, you're going to be unhappy and bitter at home and in your whole life. So why do we allow this to happen? So given these facts, why don't things ever seem to change? Well, because leadership is hard work. We are in dire need of leadership that is trusted and inspiring throughout any organization, not just policing, any organization. And I'm here to tell you, in my 33 years of law enforcement, I have gotten outside of law enforcement to learn from leaders of high performance organizations, of learning organizations. This is what we deal with every day. We come into work and stuff is coming up from everywhere, just hitting us all the time. And the concept that I've tried to implement and that I've been able to implement is developing a culture of leaders throughout the organization. I'm a pretty good bureaucrat and manager, and I can manage this to a certain extent. I've been doing it for a long time. But I cannot successfully knock it out of the park, as we say, being very successful every single day. I need everyone engaged in working on that problem or whatever the issue is. If this is my team, I need you all to step up and lead. If you're a good leader, then you've got to be a good follower. You've got to recognize when there's people that are better than you at certain things. I have been extremely successful in my career. I will tell you that. And that's not bragging, that's the truth. But I've been very successful because I've surrounded myself with great people. With people that are better at things than I am. Smarter at things than I am. And I've told them, I need you to step up and lead. I need you to step up and handle this. Because I know you can do it. I know you're better at it than I am. And not only that, I'm giving you the authority and the power to do it. Policing is a culture of distrust. And this is what I faced in Carrollton, and this is what I faced in Coppell. A culture of distrust. Because this is what's been happening year after year after year after year. So what was the key to change? Leadership, servant leadership, leadership at every level of the organization. That was the ultimate goal, to build a culture of leaders. within the organization. I didn't care if you were the newest officer or the veteran officer or a civilian dispatcher or whatever your role was. If you were going to be part of this organization, you were going to be a leader, you were going to act like it, and you were going to have the authority to change things that impacted your sphere of influence. So this is what I told my team of supervisors. If you want the behavior of your employees to change, then you have to model the behavior. I am the chief of police. I don't have to be at work at 8 in the morning. I can show up at 9, I can show up at 10. I don't have to be there till 5, if at all. But what kind of message am I sending if I don't show up for work? What kind of message am I sending that am I more important than everybody else? Are there double standards? No, I'm going to show up to work before 8 o'clock. And I told my staff and my command staff that if your hours are from 8 to 5, if your work day starts at 8, I expect you to be here at 7:45 in the morning. And if your day finishes at 5, I expect you to be here till 5:15. Because we're going to set the standard. We're going to set the behavior of everyone within the organization. As leaders, I said we're going to have vision, discipline, passion, and conscience. We all have success. We all have traits that can be successful as a team. And in any organization, not just policing, you have 5 to 10% of the top of the organization that are slotted as very, very good. These are the people that are going to come to work and are going to get it done no matter what. And you learn to count on these people. And when you need a project done, when you need something that needs to be done today, this is this team of people you're going to go to and you're going to say, I need it done, and you know they're going to do it no matter what, right? And then you have the 5 or 10% of the organization that are the very bad. That's this group over here. I'm sorry, but y'all are very bad, I got to tell you. They don't do anything. And what's the result for not doing anything in typical organizations? Nothing. Nothing happens. And then you have everybody else in the middle watching the game. What's happening in the organization? Well, who's doing the majority of the work? These people over here. Who's doing nothing? These people over here. They get paid the same. They have a job. So your 80% of the organization has to decide, what am I going to do? They're working their butts off and getting no recognition, no extra pay. They're doing nothing and getting the same pay. And that creates a stagnant organization. Because eventually you're going to burn out this group right here. And they may get bitter, they may get angry, and then go to the dark side, as we like to say. So I say this to all my staff when we started. Before we undertake any change, you have to ask certain questions. What is your purpose? Who do you serve? What are you providing with that service? What are you accomplishing? Are you really accomplishing anything? How do you know if you're being successful? And how can you be more effective? You can always be more effective. If you think you've peaked, there's nowhere to go but down. None of us has peaked. We can always be more effective, and this is what we keep pushing. What is it that we're doing? How are we doing at it? And how can we be more effective? And we use data to drive a lot of these decisions. But more importantly, there has to be a desire and a vision for change. If there's no desire for change, not a lot of change is going to occur. So I truly believe that most organizations, all organizations that are successful, if you look at any high-performance organizations, if you look at Apple, you look at any organization that is successful, they have a strategy for that success. How do you achieve success? What is the plan? We have a rolling 5-year plan in my organization. We have a 5-year strategic plan. And every year we add another year, and we set our goals and we evaluate whether we met those goals and objectives. And I'll get into that here in just a minute. Our strategy for policing is quite simple. It's problem-oriented policing, and it goes deeper into that, but I don't have a lot of time. And then a strategy for how we lead and how we treat one another is servant leadership. If I, as a police officer, as a police supervisor, and this is my team of officers right before we hit the streets, if I treat them badly, poorly, disrespectfully, how are they going to treat the citizens once they get out on the street? What picture are you painting for them to how to behave? This is a definition of servant leadership. It says that servant leadership is a practical philosophy supporting people who serve first in their work and in their life. It's a practical philosophy. There's servant leaders here. And again, it's a misunderstood concept, but it says as a way of expanding that service to individuals or institutions, they choose to lead whether they're in formal positions or not. That gets back to that culture of leaders. It's not about rank. It's not about position. It's about if you're a part of this organization, then you will be a leader. And it is our role as public safety officers to serve our community. He says, in either capacity, they encourage collaboration, trust, foresight, listening, and ethical use of power. Collaboration. Remember that organizational chart with those brick walls? How can you collaborate if you've got to go through a bureaucratic system of getting help from other members of the organization? He says that servant leaders also have the courage to become the change they wish to see in the world. And I try to make that much more smaller, and I tell my team they have the courage to become the change they wish to see in their organization, in their shifts, in their teams, or their whatever work group they're assigned to. Then let's figure out a different way of doing it. Because policing was created, and the system that we use was created by people just like us 30,000 years ago. There's nothing magical about it. So why not try something different so we can be more effective and be better service to our community? These are the 10 characteristics. You can actually Google it and find a definition for each one of those. This is what I was looking for in my organization. Who are the servant leaders in my organization? Who's willing to do more and more and more and be on board with the whole reason that we became police officers in the first place? Get rid of all that bitterness. Get rid of all that anger that has started years and years ago, and get back to focus of why did we become police officers? Why did we choose this profession? And it's quite simple. It's to serve others. If you decided to become a police officer to carry a gun and to arrest people, I don't need you. That's not the kind of person that I need. So we actually filter people to say, are you here for the right reasons? It's not about power and control. It's not about I have the authority to arrest you, 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 and you. Arrest should be the last resort of why we're doing it. Is there a better way to gain compliance? As a team, I want my commanders, my supervisors to speak in one voice. You may disagree with people, and we will disagree. I don't want everyone to agree with me. I need people to tell me the brutal facts of what's going on in the organization. Only then can we change what's happening in the organization. So we talk in one voice. Lack of trust is slow, agonizing death, and it is very dangerous for any organization. High leverage trust. I try to create transparency. We're authentic in everything that we do. I don't lie to people. I tell people whatever it is they want to know. Every time I go out of town, I was telling Ann Christine this and Johan, is I tell people, I send an email to my entire staff, to the entire organization. And I say, I will be gone to Sweden for this week doing this, or I'm on vacation, or I'm in training. And I do that because I don't want people to think I just decided not to come to work today. We have to create a transparent organization and be authentic of who we are and being vulnerable. As a leader, that's not a bad thing. That's when you come in the room to say, I need help. When I started at the Coppell Police Department, I said, I am no one's savior. We can do great things, but we're going to do it as a team. I'm not going to do it for you. I need all of you engaged in order to make this happen. Building trust is huge, and this is the main point here. In traditional command and control organizations, the troops, the line, I say troops, but the line officers distrust the command, those on top of the organization. And those on the top of the organization distrust those at the bottom. And you clash. And people at the top of the organization think that just giving out orders makes things happen. And orders is not sustainable, because in order for those things to happen, I have to be there watching all the time. And I'm not. It is not a sustainable way to create a good learning organization. So speed happens when people truly trust each other within the organization. Here's the incredible thing. High trust organizations accomplish the extraordinary. They accomplish the impossible. We have done that in my organization. I'll get to that here in just a minute. People feel a need to be respected. People would rather be asked than not told. I don't give a lot of orders. I ask for a lot of help. Say, I need help doing this, or I need help doing that. People will be willing to step up and help anybody. People prefer options over threats. And all of us deserve a second chance. Taking risks is important in our profession. in order to try new things and be effective. The problem is, in a traditional organization, when a police officer or whatever team takes a risk and it doesn't work, what happens? They get slapped. Don't do that again. Whose fault was it? Why did you do that? On and on and on and on. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I don't care. Let's back up, figure out what it is that we did wrong, how can we do it better, and then let's try it again. That's how we learn, by failing. If you never risk, you may never fail, but you're never going to accomplish anything. You're never going to get anything done. So as a leader, I always ask for help, and I kept telling them, I can't do this by myself. I need people to help me do it. The Capitol Police Department, I formed this advisory team of line officers. There's communication between the command staff, myself and my command staff, and the communication goes down. But the idea was for me to meet directly with a team of officers, and they rotate every 6 months to a year, and they meet with me. There's about 10 to 12 on a monthly, sometimes twice a month basis, usually in the morning, sometimes late in the evening, and we talk about issues. I give them direct information from me to them, and then they bring direct information to me. And the idea is somewhere in the middle, we'll get the communication right. We'll eliminate that poor communication problem.